All right, we are all here. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today at the We Bear Behind the Scenes webinar. I am so excited to bring you some of the artists and curators and other folks who have put together this incredible exhibition, which took place really in the depths of the pandemic. If we can think back to how isolating the early stages of the COVID pandemic were. And then for those of us who were not incarcerated, imagining then sort of the double isolation of then being locked inside a prison during that time. And so if you can put your mind back into that space for a moment and then think about how incredible it is that this beautiful and thoughtful work has emerged from that space and time. And so we're here today to learn more about the exhibit and how it came to be. And so just watching my notes here, but first, I want to let you know that it's not just a talking at you kind of webinar. We'd also like to hear more about all of the people who are joining us today. So I'm going to quickly introduce myself and my colleagues who are running the webinar today, and then we'll launch our first poll. So my name is Vanessa Majewski. I am the Associate Director of the Prison Creative Arts Project, or PCAP, as we like to call ourselves. We're based at the University of Michigan in the US. And with me today, but off screen, are my colleagues Sarah Unrath and Emily Chase. Sarah has really been one of the lead orchestrators of bringing We Bear to the United States. And she is our behind the scenes person today and will be launching polls and helping us with tech. And Emily Chase manages PCAP's annual exhibition of art. And she will be in the chat box moderating the chat. So Sarah, if you could launch our first poll, and it's just a question of where is everyone logging in from today? I can see lots of people are responding. Almost everybody now. So Sarah, if you could close that down and let's see where folks are logging in from. It looks like we have all Michigan people today. So Michigan is a state in the United States, which I guess I don't need to say since everyone's logging in from Michigan. But that is exciting. So those of you from Michigan will be able to see this work in person next week at the Ann Arbor Art Fair. Oh no, I'm seeing things in the chat too. We do have from England. Great. Exciting stuff. So next up, I'm going to do a couple of moments of housekeeping. So as we go through the webinar today, if you have questions for the panelists, please do put them in the Q&A section. You can type those questions anytime they come to you. If you have thoughts or celebrations, statements, observations to make, you can use the chat for that. Oh, look, we've got all sorts of folks from the UK. Hi, just reading the chat here. You can put those in the chat at any time. So without further ado, I'd like to bring us into our introductions of our panelists. I'll call on each one of them and they can share a little bit about themselves and how they were a part of this exhibit. So we'll start with Faye.
Hi, so I'm Faye Claridge and We Bear was my idea, I guess, is the best introduction. So I won't say too much more about that. I'm an artist and I work with people primarily in lots of different contexts. So I will talk much more about We Bear in particular after the introductions.
Great, and how about Ryan?
Hi everyone, my name's Ryan Hughes. I'm the Artistic Director and CEO of Coventry Biennial. And I guess I'm one of the people that went on the very earliest stages of the journey with Faye and facilitated right through to the presentation of the exhibition here in Coventry.
George, you're next.
Hello, my name's George Rogers. I was serving a 6-year sentence in the UK in 2 UK prisons. And I was involved in being a participant in the WeBear, and I'm glad I did.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Sarah.
Okay.
I'm Sarah Hartley. I work for Novus, which is prison education. My part was made connections with Faye, probably the end of summer in 2020, and to support how we could take the project forward across the prison estate at a time when things were quite heavily locked down.
Thank you, Nora.
Hi, everyone. My name is Nora Kranicki, and I am the director of the Prison Creative Arts Project, or PCAP, like Vanessa said. I'm also a lecturer at the University of Michigan, and my role in WeBear has largely been to support the connection that Faye made, or reached out to PCAP, which I'll talk more about later on. I support and help to develop all the programs at PCAP. So very much behind the scenes, but very excited to talk more about the partnership today.
Thank you. And Sergey.
Yes, hi. My name is Sergey Tkachenko, and I've spent close to 15 years in the Michigan Department of Corrections, where I discovered creativity and a real need to connect with other artists, and I'm very thankful for PCAP to give me that opportunity. So, thank you.
Well, thanks to all of you for introducing yourselves. Before we go on to some presentations from you all, I would like to hear from the audience what they're interested in learning about. So Sarah has another poll, which she will launch now. And when you see that pop up, you can rank these in order of interest. Looks like we've got from very interested all the way to not at all interested. Looks like about half of the folks have answered. We'll give it just a few more seconds in case people are really thinking about what they're interested in. All right, I'm going to close the poll now and share the results here. So it sounds like we're interested in where the idea came from, how the artwork was created, inside prisons, the wider impact. Sounds like we're pretty much interested in everything. And so I'm going to stop sharing that now. So panelists, it sounds like, you could think about these as you frame your answers, but it also sounds like we have an audience here today who's just really interested in taking it all in. So with that, I'm going to invite Faye and Ryan to take the next chunk of time here.
Fantastic, thank you. I'm very glad to hear that so many people are interested in hearing where the idea came from. That's what I'm going to talk about first. But do feel free, if I don't answer anything that you really wish I had, obviously we have got the Q&A function. If anybody wants to ask any questions, please do type your questions in and they'll be monitored and come back to all the panelists, not just me. So yeah, I'm going to share my screen just so you can see a few pictures of the artworks that were made and some of the yeah, I'm beginning. Oh, that's not the beginning. No matter. But yeah, so the idea came in discussions with Ryan Hughes, who will speak in a moment. He works for, well, he devised Coventry Biennial, and we were talking about ways to include Warwickshire, which is the county that surrounds the city of Coventry. And I live and work quite rurally within Warwickshire. And I've worked with people in prison previously and was really interested, I still am really interested in that as a context. And so I was looking at images of the Warwickshire chained bear. We have an emblem for the county, which is now called the Bear and Ragged Staff. So it's a bear holding a staff, but really in older images, it's a bear chained to the staff, and it was a performing bear that obviously would have been taken from its native habitat and brought to the UK and used in sport or entertainment. So a slightly strange choice of celebration emblem for a county, but Warwickshire is a very historic county, and I'm sure that's what they were going for there. But because of my previous work with people in prison, I just thought that could be a really interesting starting point for people to relate to as a metaphor, really. And I found if I interrupt the slideshow to just show you these two specific images. How can I just show that one on its own? Well, let's not waste any time. I'll just keep it as it is. You can see near enough. So I found these two images. I knew I was interested in working with folk art. I've done a lot with folk and traditions in the past. And I knew this image, the bottom image from Compton Burney in Warwickshire, which is bear baiting, which is using a bear for sport depicted in a folk painting. And then I came across this image in the American Folk Art Museum, the man feeding a bear an ear of corn. And the two of them I thought were so interesting together that I thought, yeah, if there's any way we can use these as a basis for basically asking people in prison to respond to these in any way. And so, yeah, then lockdown kind of happened. But maybe before I talk about that and what happened next, maybe we should bring in Ryan to talk about the context of the biennial and where the project fitted in. Do you want to take over, Ryan? Shall I stop sharing, or do you want these images to carry on in the background?
Let's keep these images. I think these are great.
Okay.
And of course, I won't talk for too long about the biennial itself, because we're all here today to see these amazing artworks and to hear from the artists. But as Faye said, to provide some context, Coventry Biennial is a social, political and critical platform for contemporary art. And we, as our name suggests, we work in Coventry and Warwickshire, which is in the Midlands of the UK. And we've just gone through what was really a great celebratory moment for the city, UK City of Culture, which is a 4-yearly title. Came to Coventry, and really it was an opportunity for the city to consider how it wants to support artists and communities in really meaningful ways. The biennial responded to that, of course, with our interest in contemporary visual art by commissioning artists like Faye to work with other artists in really varied ways. This exhibition at the Herbert Art Gallery and Museum was really sort of strategically positioned between our biggest group exhibition, which had, I think, maybe 30 or so artists from around the world in, and between the Turner Prize, which of course is the world's most prestigious art prize. And interestingly, the Turner Prize last year now, was for the first time made up entirely of artist collectives and groups that also work with other communities. So actually Faye's work being, well, the We Bear project, of course, work of 30-something other artists, acting as the entrance to the Turner Prize, I think really set up this interesting dynamic where we think about the role of artists, the role of art and creativity for people in all kinds of lived experience. And I think that's the point where actually I'll stop talking. We'll come back to Faye to hear more about the particulars.
Cool. Well, I'm not going to say too much more either, but just to say that the idea kind of happened before lockdown, and then obviously lockdown came about, and I was really not sure. My original idea was that I would literally go into a prison or two, maybe work remotely with one prison in the US. Obviously lockdown happened, and as a non-staff member I wasn't allowed into any prisons, and I just couldn't see even whether this could be facilitated by people that were, I mean, so many staff were off sick with COVID. Impact on normal, if you can call it normal, kind of regimes in prison was huge. And I was very unsure really whether this idea would mean a welcome distraction or would just feel ridiculously irrelevant when people were literally very, very sick and dying. But luckily at that point, I joined a kind of remote group meeting, which included Sarah Hartley from Novus, who facilitated new relationships for me with 15 different prisons in the UK. And then similarly, Nora responded to my many emails from the UK going, please PCAP, I'm sure you're the right people to work with. You look amazing. And they are amazing. And again, they facilitated access to further 12 or 13, I think, prisons in the US. And so actually, I mean, it was very difficult. It was horrible not being able to work face to face. But because of the pandemic, the project grew. You know, I wasn't originally intending it to be 32 people from 25 different prisons that got to take part across, you know, 2 continents. And this partnership, which is now feels really solid, has come out of that. So yeah, I was just going to very briefly share, because I'm aware of taking up time. There's here we are, a story map that's been produced. So if you want to find out more about the background of where this came from and how the exhibition looked in Coventry, some quotes from visitors and lots of insights from participants, then this is on my website. I can put the address in the chat. But importantly, there are 2 maps. There's a UK map and a US map where every single participant is kind of listed and searchable, and all their images are on there, along with extra statements and other information. So I just wanted to flag that up because there is a lot more on there than we're going to have time to talk about today, but I shall stop sharing and let someone else speak.
Well, thank you, Faye and Ryan, for telling us how this all began. And so to continue the story, Sarah and George, could you tell us what happened next and how you were involved?
So as Faye's just said, we had a meeting online, and in the chat conversations kind of started to share ideas about possibilities of connections. Then Faye and I had a conversation kind of beyond that meeting around how we could potentially use the project brief that Faye devised and kind of reach people. So just to add some context to what I do within the organisation Novus where I work, is I work with external partners and various different creative practitioners to look at opportunities that can enhance teaching and learning. And obviously during the pandemic and kind of with all the lockdowns and kind of all the restrictions, thinking creatively about how we reach and kind of deliver education was challenging, but it was also quite exciting in terms of finding new ways to reach and connect with people. So when Faye's opportunity came about, for me, that was another potential that we could kind of take forward. I think one of the initial complexities was what Faye's just alluded to in terms of some of the challenges. So initially, we had the scope of reaching a number of prisoners and kind of our learners. But in terms of me working with colleagues in those establishments, it was establishing the best way to kind of facilitate that interaction, recognizing that some of the ways that we kind of work with people wasn't necessarily happening the same way. So not having classroom settings, kind of working more of a in remote contexts. So once that was kind of considered, and we did, Faye and I had a conversation around kind of how the brief might set out. So really devising operationally, how would that run in a prison? Speaking to colleagues about what the ask would be, and it would be identifying potential participants, learners who would have an interest, but also be in a place that would be able to respond to that opportunity. So it was very much working collaboratively with colleagues broader across the prison estate. And once we'd identified the individuals, I think what came next was really refreshing, and George will kind of add more details to that in a moment. But the way that we kind of facilitated was me contacting and working with my colleagues within the education department, who were then working with the learners and the participants on the project brief, and then kind of bringing things back to me. And Faye was facilitating and responding and providing feedback and some potential other imagery and resources to respond to. So there was a real kind of fluid nature in what we were doing, and that connection. The feedback that we received were people really appreciative of Faye having that time to kind of comment and critique the work, and the outcomes, the selection, what you've just seen there, it's some fantastic responses. I mean, we set a brief, but we didn't kind of stipulate too much in terms of restrictions of and just to open that creativity, so much so we got a really heavy doubled piece item that where somebody had completely maximized their opportunity by working double-sided on this kind of large scale square. But yeah, I think this might be a good time to bring in George, who was one of the project participants, to kind of hear his reflections and what he got from the project.
Hi. I moved from HMP Alt Course to HMP Thorn Cross about 2 months before COVID, and about 3 months before the lockdowns. I had never done any artwork whatsoever before I went to Thorn Cross. I'd made models, things like that in Alt Course, but I'd never done any artwork, so all that was new to me. I'd only just started the art classes. My tutor was encouraging me to do artwork, and I was quite pleased with what I was doing, actually. And then through the underneath the door came the request to see if I could produce a piece of artwork, and I think it took a lot of time thinking about it, but I think it was more easier for me to make a model than it was to draw something, as I'd only just started drawing, and that's what I did originally, make a model, and I'm quite pleased with the model. It's even though I think it looks a bit untidy for me, but at the time, through the lockdown and what we could get items to do it, and things I collected, I think I did a fair job. If you want me to explain what the model is, do you want me to do that?
Yes, please, George. That'd be helpful.
Right, well, okay, right. I made the model out of a shoebox, which was brought into the prison for me with a pair of trainers in it, and I'd also collected things from HMP Alt Course, and things I collected round Thorn Cross as well. So I think I had more things to make a model than I did to produce some artwork, and so that's what I did. And with the work we had to work with, the pictures and drawings, paintings we had to work with, I made a man bear as the focus of the centerpiece, and you can see him with his back to his cell. In the cell is I sort of reproduced a bit of my cell, actually. I made the bed out of matchsticks. The sheets are made out of my sheets from the bed in Thorn Cross, from the sheets I had. So I cut a little piece out of there. The pillows the same. I made things on that I've got on the walls, and that's how I created the cell part. I mean, the man bear is looking away from the cell. He's looking towards, because every wall on the box has my views of what's happened in prison and happened out of prison as well. The drawing pins on the floor are showing, representing the paths. I mean, you can take different paths in prison. You can take a path of violence, you can take a path of drugs, you can take the wrong path. And most of the path is covered in the drawing pins, but there is a path there, and it's a path of change, which leads to, obviously, your release and what you want outside. The other parts of it were parts I've gone through, like what have I done and things like that, and my broken family and things like that. So it's really my journey. It's really my journey through prison.
George, how long did it take you to make this piece?
I think it was probably about a month or 6 weeks, like 6 weeks or something. I think it was the end of January, I think, when we needed to have them finished by. So I think that's about at that time. Yeah. So I was in a single cell in my prison. Whether that's good or bad, it depends on people. Some people like the company. I was quite used to the routine of being in a single cell, even though I'd been in 3-man cells and 2-man cells previously. But I did quite like my own company, so I was okay with the single cell. So within the single cell, I had a table to my left from my bed, which is like 2 foot away. And of course the model was on there. And on that table, it's the same table where I used to eat. I used to do my letters and things like that. So I lived with it. And that's how I feel. I feel it's really personal to me, sort of some of the things that are in it. But I was quite happy with the end of it. You can either look down at it and see the overall view, or you can look through the windows in the side, and they give you different views as well. There's a cell view, and there's views of parts of my journey. So it's quite revealing at times. Okay.
Yes, thank you, George.
Thank you, George and Sarah. And George, I don't know if you can see the chat, but you're getting lots of appreciation and shout outs and encouragement there.
Thank you, because I am nervous.
Before we move to the US part of the exhibit, I'd like to ask those of us in the webinar today, did you create any art during the pandemic? And Sarah's going to launch a quick poll. I know some people, because I recognize some of the names of the chat here, some people were already artists going into the pandemic, but I know some folks tried out new ways of creative expression. Keeping our own company, as George was saying. All right, we'll give this a couple more seconds. And I'm going to end it and share it. And it looks like, yes, just like the artists who were in We Bear, a lot of the people here today were also creating art. And so with that, the idea, started in the UK, but as Faye mentioned, she was sending many emails to PCAP, and Nora connected with her. And so I'd like to invite now Nora and Sergey to pick up the story on the US side.
Thanks so much, Vanessa, and thanks to all of my co-presenters today. Sergey, if it's okay with you, I'll just talk a little bit about how we connected with Faye and then turned things over to you to talk about the US artist experience. So like Faye mentioned, she reached out to PCAP. I am embarrassed to admit, I don't think I responded to your first email, Faye, but you did send it in March of 2020, so all excuses. But once we at PCAP and at U of M had sort of adjusted to the restrictions and challenges we were going to face with the COVID-19 pandemic, we realized that actually, in some ways, it was the perfect time for this partnership with Faye and the We Bear exhibition. PCAP is, like Vanessa said, a program at the University of Michigan. We conduct creative arts programmings in prisons throughout the state. And our largest public program is our annual exhibition of art by Michigan prisoners, which typically exhibits for 2 weeks on the University of Michigan Ann Arbor campus. To curate that show, we schedule what we call our art selection visits to every prison in the state, and that includes, I think, currently 26 facilities, so it is quite a task. Our most recent exhibition comprised more than 700 pieces of art. So as you can imagine, it is really a huge project to undertake every year. However, COVID put a stop to that for a year or so because of restrictions on going in and out of prisons, visiting. We had to essentially kind of suspend our annual exhibition for a year. We were able to exhibit art online, but this meant that we suddenly had some time and energy on our hands that we otherwise wouldn't have normally had. So like I said, it was really fortuitous that that's when we connected with Faye. I want to kind of lift up my former colleague, Graham Hamilton, who's the former arts programming coordinator at PCAP. He left PCAP the beginning of this year to pursue other opportunities, but he worked very closely with Faye to help to develop kind of the vision for including US artists, to help her kind of understand the nuts and bolts of dealing with the Michigan Department of Corrections, corresponding with artists, receiving their art, shipping their art. So I'm really grateful for all of his work. When we heard from Faye, we at PCAP had some conversations about how to select or how to invite artists to participate in this opportunity. Like I alluded to earlier, our annual exhibition, in each art selection visit, we invite any artists who are making art in a given facility to come meet with our curators, potentially have art curated into the show. So a typical PCAP annual exhibition usually has somewhere in the neighborhood of 600 artists exhibiting. So narrowing that down to 15 to extend this invitation is quite a challenge. But ultimately, in consultation with PCAP staff and our PCAP curator group, we selected a list of artists who were technically accomplished, artists who had a long history of exhibiting in the annual exhibition, artists whose work is particularly creative or resonates with audiences and viewers, and artists who have, who we have visitors come back every year to the annual exhibition to see. So it was a challenge, but really a pleasure to be able to extend those invitations. And we heard, I think, from just about every artist who got that invitation, how incredibly honored they were to have this opportunity to exhibit in the show, to exhibit work in an international venue. So we now have a group of PCAP artists who are internationally exhibited. One particular response really moved me as well. It came from Daryl Ratu, who wrote that the invitation to participate in We Bear inspired him to start making art again after 8 months of not making art. And remember, this came, in the first year of COVID, when isolation was more acute than ever. And I was heartened and really grateful to Faye that we were able to extend that invitation to artists like Daryl and the others who exhibited during a time when inspiration and energy were likely lacking. So with that, I'll turn things over to Sergey to talk about the experience of getting that invitation and creating a piece for the show.
Yes, hi. Yeah, receiving that invitation was an honor, but at the same time, it was a really hectic time. And just to give a little like setup of the environment, looking at George's model of his cell, in a way almost made me kind of jealous, because in Michigan, we're housed in sort of like chicken coops, where you're sharing your space with 160 other inmates. And waves of anxiety go back and forth through the environment that you're trying to focus, or so it can be challenging. Materials are challenging, space, all types of things. So when I received that invitation, knowing how important it is for me to connect with like-minded individuals, discovering creativity in prison, and looking forward to seeing or speaking with or communicating with other like-minded individuals, it was missing because of COVID. So it was a struggle for me to commit to create something, because also being somewhat of like, I want to make something that's worthwhile, and I didn't feel like I can make something that is well enough in that kind of environment because of uncertainty, how MDOC was going to handle everything. People were being moved places, positive cases were, but I realized that, and I also haven't been painting as well for, I want to say, close to a year. I've been preparing for release to see the parole board, and COVID has also interrupted all that. So there was another level of anxiety that I wasn't ready to deal with. So when I did receive this letter, it took a while for me to actually commit. And but knowing that I did needed a distraction, I did needed to focus on something, shift my focus away from what was going on around me. And in fact, this is probably the biggest painting I've took on in prison. And while creating it, I was moved 3 times, and each time taking it as something that was more important than my belongings, to make sure it didn't get ripped or damaged. And always being kind of concerned even if I'm gonna be able to finish on time, whether it's gonna get mailed. But I just move forward with it, and here's the result. And I am so glad that whenever opportunity arises, working with PCAP, I've never been let down. They've been my support system from day one, and here I am, still being supported daily, and I'm truly thankful, and it means the world to me. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Nora and Sergey. And Sergey, you also, I don't know if you can see the chat, but you've also been getting lots of encouragement and feedback on your piece. And there's also some questions going about, differences between US and UK prisons and what it's like to perhaps create art in the two places. And we are about to transition to Q&A. So I'll say to our webinar guests that if you have a question that you've been thinking about asking, if you could type it into the Q&A now, that would be great. And before we get into that section, I have a question for you. And that's, I'm wondering, for those of us in the Zoom room today, have you attended the We Bear exhibit, either when it was in the UK, or do you plan to attend next week when it comes to the US? So Sarah, if you could launch that poll. And we'll give folks a little time to let us know if they have or plan to attend the exhibit in person. Also giving some time too, if you have questions, specific or general, for one or more of the panelists, feel free to enter that into the Q&A. And we'll give this just a few more seconds, and I'm going to close it now. Sorry to all of you who are just hitting as I close that. But as we can see, we've got few folks who are planning to attend, a few who won't be able to. And so for those of you, actually for everybody, but especially the people who can't attend in person, I really do encourage you to visit that story map that Faye produced, because it's gorgeous for one thing, and it really allows you sort of an immersive experience to see the artwork, really think about it, but then also see, oh, well, where did it come from? Where is that prison in Michigan? Or where is that prison in the UK? I don't know where that is. Like, let's picture it and then read the artist's statement. It's really a wonderful way to experience the exhibit. So I'm going to stop sharing the poll now. And then we have our first question, and from someone in the attending, and they were asking, what were the art material restrictions in the US and the UK? So if our artists could talk about that, that would be great.
I guess I can take the US part. Well, it's no oil. You are allowed to get acrylics, pencils. The issue is that it takes up to 3 months for you to receive your supplies, and there is a limited amount of money that you can spend, and that's usually the, art supplies are expensive, but most of inmates usually have a restriction on their accounts and not being able to spend or receive any more than $50 or $100 in their account at a time. Usually makes it really difficult to. And then storage, there's many many restrictions, and the space that you get to work in is also but something that's important to you, you learn to sacrifice and prioritize, and that becomes even more precious and more as if you're able to, willy-nilly do anything you wanted. When you sacrifice for something like that, it becomes more the most important thing in your life, and that's how it was for me. So
Thank you. George, are there any particular materials that you can and can't work with in the UK?
I think we were a lot luckier than Sergey. We were able to get materials, and we didn't have to buy them either. So we were lucky in that respect. I had, like I said before, I had a collection of bits that I'd collected from everywhere, and that's why I decided to do what I did. Otherwise, if I was doing a painting, I would have been able to get hold of paints and brushes and paper to do it with. So we were very lucky, I think, in the UK.
Great, thanks. And I think Faye wants to add to this.
Yeah, it just occurred to me there were a couple of restrictions behind the scenes when we were producing the publication that was going to all the people in prison, just as a way for them to see each other's work and to see it as a collective exhibition, which felt really important, because it's the whole idea of it. Well, part of the idea of this is to help that sense of isolation, and then just producing your artwork and sending it off into the abyss and never receiving anything back and not really understanding the context of it is really important. So that's why we produced the publication. I know Ryan suggested, for example, that it might look smarter if we got it spiral bound. And I was immediately like, no, UK prisons. Oh, lots of shakes head from the US as well. Okay, wouldn't have worked in the US either. So that was like a, no, we can't do that. And then also when I sent the original images out, I wasn't aware at first that in the US, all correspondence has to be photocopied. So all participants, all artists just received a kind of grainy, low quality black and white photocopy of those original inspiration images, which I thought was, you know, so important. It was such a shame. And I was fairly sure that the works would come back lacking colour because of that. And I couldn't have been more wrong about that. The kind of outburst of colour, the need for colour. And lots of people wrote about that actually in their letters to me and in their statements as well. As Sergey said, you know, I guess the more you're restricted, there was a lot of talk about how grey prison is and how poor the light is. And the works that came back were full of light, full of colour, just deep emotion on every level, you know, as you've seen. So yeah, pretty amazing.
Yeah, I had just unmuted to mention that restriction on mailing materials that Faye referenced. This was a new policy of the Michigan Department of Corrections, I believe as of September 2020, that all incoming mail would be photocopied and recipients would receive the photocopies and the originals would be destroyed. It is a policy that is supposedly in place to stop the sending of contraband inside, although the harm, I would say, that it inflicts on folks who don't get to receive original copies of letters from their loved ones, or in our case, images of art, I think far outweighs any potential benefit of this policy. And I see some comments in the chat that this policy in other states. I know, I believe it, Lacey is saying in North Carolina, I know other states have this policy as well. But it, like Faye just mentioned, really made for a challenge in terms of, you know, kind of the conceptualization of the exhibition, having folks respond to two images that they could only see in black and white.
Yeah. We have quite a few questions, so I'm going to bundle some of them, and they're for our artists here. So George and Sergey, we've had some questions asking about what do you see as the value of creating art, especially while you were in custody? If you could talk about the value of that. Also, you know, was part of it learning, did you learn anything about yourself and others as part of the project? Why don't we start with George? Yeah.
Hi. Yes, I have done some artwork since I've been out, but it's not. I seem to be struggling with it. It's not as intense. I'm not in the situation I was in before, and I can't create that environment. So I don't feel my work's has got the same feeling. I can just nip out now to the shop and buy things, whereas I couldn't before. I'd have to find things or borrow things or whatever. I've used in the past, I've used coffee as a color. I've used mustard as a color, you know, but now I can just go out and buy the browns, the yellows, the golds. I just haven't got that intense feeling in the environment to produce that type of work again, I think, to make it feel personal.
So it sounds like some of the value to you was that intense and personal feeling while you were in custody.
Yes, it was, but I'm glad I was encouraged to carry on with art, because I mean, I've never used a pencil drawing, never done a pencil drawing. I did one of a self-portrait of myself on looking through a 3-inch piece of plastic mirror. You know, that's very difficult to do, but I managed to do it. So I've done a lot of things now in the art which I'd never done before, and I'm grateful for the opportunity of doing things like that. So I shall continue at what level I don't know, but I will continue. Yeah. Thanks.
Sergey, what about you?
So for me, it was a process, and the first initial, I guess the beginning was boredom is a powerful tool for you to reach within yourself and find something. What am I good at? What can I possibly do to entertain myself? And the benefits of it was that other people began to notice my artwork and began to get interested in it and purchasing and commissioning. And in prison, when you're you don't have much money, it's a good benefit. But with time, I began to discover that not only that it's a good financial thing, it takes your time, but also I began to connect with creativity and express myself in ways I almost discovered, like it's like another language that you can communicate with people on the other side, and yeah, even with myself. So it's but just like George, it has been a struggle. A huge commodity in prison is time. It's you waste it. It's always available. Materials aren't, so you're sparing of that. But out here, time is the commodity. Materials are plenty. But yeah, it's been a struggle for me, and I've been starving, and almost kind of worried that will I be able to connect with myself the way I have in prison out here, because it really hasn't happened yet. I've been out of prison for 2 months, well, a month and a half, and it's been a struggle to create. So but I'm hoping as I get acclimated, the creative monster will come back, and because I know it's an important part of me.
Yeah, and we saw what you did after 8 months of no artwork. A quick question for you, Faye, and then I'm going to invite someone to ask a question live. What happens to the artwork after the exhibit?
Oh, that's a good question, and it has been asked before, actually. When it was finishing in Coventry, a couple of people suggested it should become a permanent collection, that it should stay, because it's such a strong body of work that really benefits, each work benefits from being with each other, you know, as a whole collective. But that was never the intention, and still isn't, because those artworks belong to the people who made them, absolutely, and they're really valuable to them for that. I mean, a lot of people have written about how important those specific pieces of art are out of all the artworks they've ever made, I think because of the context that they were made in, Sergei's not the only one to say that it was either the biggest or the most challenging piece of work they ever made. Literally, I've had mums email me saying as they're writing they're in floods of tears because this artwork has meant so much to their son, and it would be wrong just because academically or artistically it feels good to keep it as a collection. These works need to go back, and in I think all cases pretty much they have to go back to families rather than individuals that are in prison. We can't send them back in for restrictive reasons. But it's really nice to know that they're going to be reunited with people who really care for those works. So yeah, they're just going to exist as a collection online on the story map, which is why it was important to create that, and in the book, which is also accessible online. And yeah, I mean, we're hoping we might do something similar again, but these works, say it was meant to only be a one-off. So the fact that it's happened again, it's come to America, is already like blowing my mind, amazing. So we've at least had 2 goes at keeping it as a collection, but no, it will soon go home where it all should be.
And since we are just 3 minutes away from the end of our time together, I'm going to summarize this question to you, Faye, and you can answer it and then move right into your closing remarks. And the question, well, are there plans on works of having a similar exhibit in the future? And then also asking you to speak to, oh, never mind. I thought there was a question. I think I saw a question in the chat too about like, was there a difficult hurdle to get over? So if you could speak to those and then move right into closing remarks and wrap us up.
Okay, I didn't see the one about hurdles. What was that? Sorry.
Maybe I made that up, but if you could talk to, are there plans to do this in the future?
Sure. There are no fixed plans because this, like every other project, kind of goes in little pockets of time and funding. Having said that, everybody here is so amazing and so committed that it will happen again. We will make sure it does one way or another. I mean, I should say the Arts Council in England has been fantastic in making the second part, phase 2, happen at fairly short notice as well, being able to sort of turn around, respond to the invitation from PCAP to host a US version. So we're hoping them and others will love what we're doing. And I've already found a couple of inspiration artworks that I know will create will be incredible catalysts. So yeah, it will happen. We're just not quite fixed on where or when, but yeah, this is not an idea that's going to fizzle out, I don't think. Quite the opposite. In fact, we're looking at growing it to another continent, another country maybe. So yeah, keep growing, it'd be good. And so yeah, closing remarks already. Hasn't time flown by? Incredible. I just wanted to say thank you mainly. I mean, it's always a joy to see and hear from this particular partnership. Everybody involved is so invested, and everybody does it because of the impacts, the feedback we get directly from Sergei, George, others involved, that we know this makes a difference minute by minute, day by day, as moods change, as circumstances change. It's this kind of support and enthusiasm for creativity that I think really, really helps on many, many ways. So it's been a genuine, humbling pleasure to be able to be part of those journeys for 32 people and their tutors. I've had fantastic feedback from tutors saying how important it's been to them. So there's a whole wider network of families who have been great in reaching out and sharing how the projects touch them. And so thank you to everyone that's attended for being part of that journey too. And yeah, watch this space for more, I guess.
Thank you, Faye, and thank you to all of our panelists and to everyone who joined us here today, and to everyone who perhaps is watching this in the future on a on a YouTube channel somewhere. So thank you all again, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you.